Welcome to VPNs 101, episode 3, with me, Charly Leetham. Today we're going to talk about how to choose your VPN wisely. We are going to take the stuff that I spoke about in the last episode. I'm going to dig down a little further into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is paid versus free. There are going to be people out there saying, oh, this one's free, you should just use it, it's fine, it works for me, and it's free, you don't have to pay for it. I think what I want to say here is that you are either the customer or you are the product. If you pay for something, you are generally the customer. Generally, there are no absolutes. So please don't come at me and say, oh, but this one, this isn't always the case. No, you're right. It's not always the case. So I'm not talking in absolutes. I'm going to be talking in generalities here. When you're paying for something, you are the customer. When you are taking something for free, you are generally the product. Why? Why do I say that? VPN, particularly with VPNs, and let's just look at VPNs in general. VPNs cost money to run. You have the hardware that they run on, you have the bandwidth that they use, and the bandwidth is, your stuff coming in. You've got to be able to take the stuff that you've got coming in and the requests that you've got coming in. They've got to terminate it on the hardware, and then they've got to send that through and send that out into the internet as well. So it uses a lot of bandwidth. You've got the hardware that it runs on, and then you've got all the applications that run on that hardware to make the VPN service run. You've got the maintenance on it. You've got the security considerations on it. You've got all of the IT security policy processes, ideas that go into making sure that that service is secure. Someone has to pay for that somewhere along the line. Now, it is the rare person that will put up something and say, no, I'm just going to run this absolutely altruistically, and I'm not going to take a cent for it, and I'm not going to get my money back somewhere. That has to be paid for somewhere. So if you aren't paying for the service, someone else has to be paying for the service. Now, that is typically done, and I've got my notes here, so if I'm looking to the side, please bear with me. That is typically done because they're selling your data. Either that's your personally identifiable information so that you get marketing back at you, people trying to sell you stuff. You end up on all these lists of CEOs in the tech industry or CEOs in the beauty industry, or you're a hairdresser, so you're starting to get stuff targeted at you because you're a hairdresser. They'll sell your data. The worst thing and it's not just your data they can sell. They can also sell your browsing history. They can also sell what you're doing through that VPN. If they aren't reputable, they can be selling that information as well. So just be careful. They'll sell your data. They may also inject ads into your stream. So if you can imagine, you're sitting there, you're working, then all of a sudden an ad pops up while you're working and you can't get rid of it. It might be coming through your VPN service. They might be injecting it into the data stream while you're using it. That would really annoy me, by the way. Another thing they might do is they might cap your speed. Like I said, bandwidth costs money, speed costs money. To reduce their costs, to manage their costs, they may actually say, well, we've got this big pipe, but what we're going to do is we're just going to oversubscribe it. And then as more and more people come on, we're going to say, oh, well, no, maximum speed's now being dropped, and it's being dropped, and it's being dropped. And eventually it becomes unusable because it's so slow. It's like going back to dial-up modem days, basically. So that's what you've got to consider when you're looking for paid versus free. Where is the money coming from? If you're not paying for it, how are they paying for that service? How are they maintaining that service? How are they ensuring that your security and your privacy is maintained? Jurisdiction is the next thing. Now, take the little eyes that I have on this map as a grain of salt. With a grain of salt, please. Don't worry about where the reds and the greens are. It is just an indication that there is surveillance agreements between governments across the world. And this is something that we need to understand when we're looking at where our VPN provider is actually headquartered or based. When we're talking about surveillance agreements across the world, we're talking about governments that share intelligence, and yes, I am looking at my notes here, share intelligence, including data on their citizens. Some of these are surveillance agreements, and I am no expert, so there is a really huge caveat here. I'm no expert on these agreements. I know enough to be careful around where we do things and how things are done. and to ensure that I actually do follow the laws in the countries that I'm in. They can legally compel companies to hand over user data. So if they've got an ongoing investigation and they need to get stuff out of it, they have got laws in place in the countries that they can go to a company and say, give us that data. We are seeing a lot of that in the news now, where some companies are saying, no, that's not data that's you're entitled to, and if you need to get it, we're going to have to go to court so that you can get access to it, because the companies themselves have got to make sure that they're maintaining their own privacy things, and they're not that they're following the privacy laws, and they're not in breach of the privacy laws because the government comes to them and says, and give us that information. So they can compel organisations to hand over user data. They can also put gag orders in place to stop those organisations telling you that your data has been handed over. I'm not saying that they do this. I'm saying that the laws are there that may possibly, potentially allow that to occur. I'm being very careful to caveat this because it's such a huge law. It's such a huge part of the law. It's such a huge morass of laws that all sort of interact together, and one person will look at it and interpret it one way, and another person will look at it and interpret it the other way, and that's why often it ends up in court trying to work out which part of the law is actually which interpretation of the law is actually correct. That's what I'm trying to say there. But let's look at the alliances that exist. There are 3 alliances that I am aware of. They're called Eyes. There's the Five Eyes Alliance. This is the core group, and that is United States, United Kingdoms, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. They all share data. That's been expanded out into the Nine Eyes Alliance, which is those base 5, plus Denmark, France, Netherlands, and Norway. And then there is the Nine Eyes Alliance, which includes those base 9. Sorry, 14 Eyes Alliance, which includes the base 9, plus Germany, Italy, Spain, Sweden, and Belgium. Yes, I'm counting them up. I know I'm hilarious, aren't I? But if your VPN is based in any of these countries, if they're headquartered in any of these countries, they will be subject to the laws of that country. They will be subject to what data they are legally required to hand over on request of the government, on request of the authorities, not just the government, on request of the authorities. So just be aware of that when you are looking at that. There are some countries that aren't included in these alliances. They have declined to become part of these Eyes alliances. They are better, they are better at respecting privacy. We call them privacy respecting jurisdictions. We are looking at countries like Panama, that's how you pronounce it, Panama, Switzerland, Romania, and the British Virgin Islands. Now, they're probably the 4 countries that if you're looking for a VPN provider, see if they're headquartered there. See if their main base is in one of those 4 countries. You are more likely to have something that won't be able to hand over your data. Even if asked, they can say, nope, this is outside of our legislation. You can't get access to that data. So just consider that when you're looking at where to take a VPN. Now, what do those 4 countries not do? It's not just that they don't hand over data. Then they're not required to log data. Some of these countries that I was talking about they require everyone to log the data. It doesn't matter what you do. It's got to be logged, and it's got to be kept for 3 or 5 years or something. They don't cooperate with the global surveillance treaties. They have stronger privacy protection laws in general. So don't just check the features of your VPN, check the country where it's registered in. Check where the company is actually registered in. Okay, so that's your jurisdiction. That's the thing. That's probably the first thing you should be looking at before you even start looking at features. Is this in a country that respects privacy and keeps our data private? Now let's talk about the features. These are 4. There's actually a 5th that I didn't get on this slide, which came up as I was talking about it. So I'm just going to add it in. There are 4 features and then a 5th. No logs. What do we mean by no logs? I spoke about that in the last episode. No logs means no records of the websites you visited, the IP address you're using, the downloads, the timestamps, any of those sorts of things. They do not log what you're doing. Once you've logged into the system, there is no logging about where you're going, what you're looking at, any of that sort of information. There is probably a record of when you have logged in, and that's probably the only thing. Now, I don't mind that there's someone might. I don't mind that there is a record that when I've logged in, because I can see if my account's been compromised, basically. So make sure there's a no logging feature. The thing to remember here is that don't just take their word that they don't log. We have certainly within the industry seen providers say, no, we don't log, and then we found the logs. Yeah, they're logging and they're selling that data. There are disreputable companies out there all the way through. So just bear that in mind. If you want, I shouldn't just try to just say things, should I? To check that, you need to go and look at independent reviews. You need to also see if they've got independent audits from reputable companies, reputable auditors to say, yes, we have audited their processes. Yes, we can guarantee, big rubber stamp, that there are no logs being kept. Most of the providers that I will be recommending have gone through a lot of that auditing process. Or not recommending, suggesting. I've got to be careful. Kill switch. No, a kill switch is not, you can just turn it off really quickly and just go on your merry way. A kill switch is what I was kind of thinking it was when I was looking at it. A kill switch actually protects you if the connection between your PC, or your device, and your VPN provider drops. So occasionally, things happen in the internet and you lose communication with a site. Might be a glitch. It might take a couple of minutes to recover. It might take an hour or so to recover. There might be something happen with the hardware, with the service itself. Maybe something breaks and it stops you being able to get into your VPN, or your VPN provider. Maybe it's down for maintenance. Very rare, but maybe it's down for maintenance and you can't get on. Or you're using it and they take it down for maintenance and your connection stops. Rather than the connection just stopping and the software going, oh, well, we can't get a connection to the VPN, so we're just going to funnel all of your traffic out into the internet without going through the VPN. So we're going to expose your IP address. We're going to expose your data to the big bad world. The kill switch goes, there is no connection to the VPN. I'm shutting your internet down. I'm turning it off until you tell me what to do. That's going to protect you from exposure of your real IP address, any DNS links, and of course it's going to protect your sensitive data. You're not going to be communicating with a public Wi-Fi system, for example, and have your data out there on the airwaves, I guess, in the digital space where people can look at it and try and hack into it. The benefit with the kill switch, of course, is that if you decide that you want to take the risk that, yeah, okay, I can't get onto my VPN at the moment, I'm just going to drop the internet, drop the VPN and just go out there. You get to make that decision. It's not just it makes the decision for you, it protects you. Split tunneling is cool. I have had trouble with this in the past with some providers do it really well, but with split tunneling you can choose which apps use the VPN and which don't. Now what do we mean by that? Well, it means that I might be sitting here with my VPN up, I might be tunneled into a US server for whatever reason. Maybe I'm working with a US company and I've got to use the VPN to get into their system, that they require me to have a US IP address. And then I decide that I need to go and do my banking. I need to go to Australia, get to an Australian site and do my banking. It says, no, you're not in Australia. We're not going to let you in. Now, of course, I'm in Australia, but it looks like I'm in the US because I've got a US IP address. It says, no, we're not going to let you in. So I can set up split tunneling to say, right, when I access this site, don't use the VPN. Go out and just use the network here so that it looks like I'm in Australia. If you want to use things like Netflix and stuff, which has VPN detection on it, and it says, no, you can't connect to us because you're using a VPN and that's against our rules, you can actually set it up so that if you go to Netflix or you use your Netflix app on your phone, it doesn't use the VPN. So split tunneling is really, really good so that you can have as much protection as you possibly can and still be productive without having to on and off your VPN all the time. Being able to use your VPN across multiple devices simultaneously is the fourth thing to consider. It is no use getting a VPN that you can only use on your PC, or you can only use on your phone or your tablet, or even just your TV. It's really important that you are able to use your VPN across all of your devices. You need to be protected. It's kind of, if you're protected on your PC but you're not on your phone, you're opening yourself up to all sorts of things. So make sure you can use the service that you provide across multiple devices simultaneously, not just one at a time. Not like we can only use it on your phone, your computer, and if you're not using it on your computer, you can use it on your phone. I've got my phone and my computer sitting here. I want to be able to have them both running. I want it because I use them for different things. I have my phone sitting here doing something at the moment. At the moment, it's running my notes. And I want to have that protected by my VPN whilst my PC is protected by my VPN. So we've got to make sure that you've got the multi-device support. The final thing to consider is your support and your usability. Make sure that you've got apps that run on your phone. Make sure that it's easy to install on your PC or your Apple device, your Apple desktop. Look, there are some clients, there are some providers that also allow you to run it on your TV, on your Apple TV, or on your Android TV, your smart TVs. You can actually put the client on there and protect your TV as well, so your TV can be using the VPN as well. Make sure that the apps are simple to use, that there's something available for every device, that you don't have to do a whole sort of song and dance to do it. Stand on your left foot, put your hand in the air, stick your tongue out, those sorts of things to get your apps running. 24/7 support is probably also something you should be looking for. A lot of these companies are headquartered not in Australia. Oh, well, all of these companies are headquartered not in Australia. And yeah, our daytime is typically not their daytime. So we want to make sure that you've got support available 24/7. And in this day and age, I'd say you'd want a live chat. I have thoughts on whether you want an AI chat or not. You really probably need to have I feel that being able to have a live chat with a real human in the long run is the goal of all of this. Yes, use the AI, but if you're still having trouble, you need to be able to speak to someone to get them to help you. And finally, make sure, or did I say finally before? Whatever. Make sure there are guides available. Make sure that you can go to their website, you can download a PDF if need be, have it sitting on your device so that if you're trying to set things up, you can actually pick up something, look at it and go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So support is the other one that isn't on this slide. Free trials and refunds are the other thing to consider when you're looking at getting a VPN, or what to consider when you're looking at a VPN. It's all good and well to say these look good on paper. The question is, will they actually do the job, and will they do the job for you in a sufficient and adequate fashion? You can do all of the paper audits you like. The proof is in the pudding. You need to be able to make sure that this works. So free trials or a money back refund, a money back guarantee, money back guarantee are probably things that you want to consider. Can I download this, give it a try, even if it's just for 7 days? Can I test this out? Can I test all the functionality, or 90% or 80% of the functionality of this offering, and see if it meets my needs? If you can't get a free trial, let me just finish that thought actually. Do I need to put my credit card details in to be able to get that free trial, or can I get the free trial? If it expires, that's on me. I can then go back and put in my credit card and purchase it. That's my preference, by the way. I don't like giving my credit card out to get these things. I prefer to do my testing and then make a decision as to whether I want to give out my credit card details. Entirely up to you. That's the sorts of things I look for. If I can't do that, what's the money back guarantee on this? What is the refund policy on this? If this really doesn't meet my needs, once I've got it in and I've run it for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, what are my options if it really doesn't meet my needs? Can I get my money back on it? And they're the sorts of things you should be considering there. Okay, so in summary today, we've spoken about paid versus free. I think I have banged the drum on that sufficiently now. Hopefully it makes sense to you. Considering the jurisdiction that your VPN provider is headquartered in is really important for your own for your privacy concerns and making sure that your privacy concerns are met. What features you need to consider when you're looking at a VPN, what I consider the must-haves, and what support is available, and then finally what your trial, whether there's free trials and refunds. Moving on to the next episode, I'm actually going to be talking about some of the ones that are out there and things that they do and don't do, and trying to give you some ideas of where you might want to go look for a VPN to use. If this has been helpful and you want to know more about what I do, if you want to give me a hand, if you want, yeah, whatever, you can find out more about me at my website, askcharlyleetham.com. It's all on this slide, by the way. You can scan that QR code. You can take a photo of that QR code. It will take you to a page with all of these links on it. I do run a podcast where I do daily tips or daily tech tips for business owners. Not anything like, you've got to get in and you've got to change this setting here. Sorry, you've got to get into the code and change this setting here and do this thing. It really is about demystifying tech for business owners so that you can become more productive and understand what's going on in your own business. I would love to see you come follow me. What I don't have on this slide is my community, askcharlyleetham.locals.com. If you come across and join me there, you can join in the conversation about all these things, ask questions. You get to interact with me there. That might be a benefit to you. Whatever it is, guys, I will see you in the next episode where we're going to dig a little bit further into what VPNs are available and what might meet your requirements. I'll see you all next episode. Bye.